Hey ladies and gentlemen, Steven here from Redolessence and welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for joining me today. Happy weekend to everybody watching this video, if you are indeed watching this on the day that I decide to publish it. And in today's video, I'm going to be going over 10 niche fragrances that I will never stop recommending, so make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin this video and I tell you all about my top 10 favorite niche fragrances that I will never stop recommending, I do want to mention that if you are a fan of fragrance-related content, if you like top 10 videos just like this, but also giveaways, unboxings, reviews, special guests, and pretty much anything having to do with fragrances, please do consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it. All you have to do is click on that red button in the corner, and of course, while you're at it, make sure to enable notifications by clicking on the bell icon. I do also want to mention that I believe this is a tag video, and it's a tag that was started by George Atkinson over at the channel The Fragrance Apprentice. I'm going to leave all of his information down below. Now, I don't think I was tagged to do this video by anybody, but I do find it to be a really cool idea, and I just more or less wanted to share with you 10 fragrances that I personally will never stop recommending, either because I love the way that they smell, the emotional connection, I find them to be very appropriate, I think they're mass appealing in a certain way, and these are fragrances that always get the job done, and it seems like I've gotten a lot of praise, not only from people who have smelled them on me, but people who have taken the recommendation, went out there, purchased them, ended up wearing them quite a bit, and then they say, you know what, this is one of my favorite fragrances now. I do also want to mention that this video is being shot in collaboration with ScentSplit.com. I'm going to leave all of their information down below. They do make decants of very popular niche and designer fragrances for really, really good prices. You can definitely feel free to check them out by following the link down below. And there's also going to be a giveaway attached to this video for a 5 ml decant of any 3 fragrances in this video, and then you can just basically pick your favorites and I will ship them out to you. The only thing you need to do if you want to enter the giveaway is just follow the link to ScentSplit.com down below, check out all of the fragrances that they carry, and let me know if you had to make a purchase of any fragrance decant from their website, what would it be? That's it. You just got to leave a comment down below, and I'm going to be pinning the winning comment to the top of the comment thread in 1 week's time. So definitely make sure to check back to this video in 1 week to see if you've won. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get the list started. These are 10 fragrances that I will never stop recommending, and I'm going to start things off with the number 10 fragrance, and this one by Eccentric Molecules is Molecule 01. I can't tell you how many people I've met in my life who say they're not really avid perfume wearers. They just want something that is light and carefree. And I know there's also a fragrance by Juliet Has a Gun called Not a Perfume. That's a fragrance that I would recommend as well. That one is Ambroxan, which is the synthetic form of ambergris. This one is ISOE Super, which has a fresh, woodsy, musky, almost vetiver kind of a smell. I really enjoyed this one. I get a lot of compliments with this one as well. It just adds a certain je ne sais quoi, if you will, to your fragrance wardrobe, especially if you're using it to layer it with another fragrance. The next fragrance that I will never stop recommending is by the company Rouge Parfums, and this one is called Danger. Now, this is the Parfum Cologne version, which is a little bit more inexpensive, and Rouge Parfums, I mean, I love so many of their fragrances, from Diaghilev to Oceania to Elysium to Scandal to Vetiver. The list goes on, and this one is such a classy, earthy green and lavender chypre sort of a fragrance. It's a James Bond kind of a fragrance. Cary Grant, James Bond, you think of these iconic characters. That's what comes to mind whenever I smell this one. Very confident, refined, and sophisticated gentleman. And if you're looking for something that smells very high class, very luxurious, that's definitely the way to go. The next fragrance is a little bit more on the sweet side, and this one by the company BDK Parfum is called Rouge Smoking. So this is a tobacco and cherry kind of a fragrance with an ample dose of vanilla in the base. It reminds me of Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille. It also reminds me a little bit of Spice Bomb by Viktor and Rolf, but with that ample cherry note in the opening, which makes it so decadent, so delicious, and also very refined, a little bit on the playful side, if I may say so, perfectly unisex as well. And I believe ScentSplit has decants of all of these fragrances. If not, they have decants of most of the fragrances. I'm not going to promise you that they have them all, but I think they have most of them. The next fragrance that I want to talk about is one that used to be out under a company named Sospiro, which has now merged with Xerjoff. And you know, Sospiro was under the Xerjoff universe umbrella, if you will. And this one is Erbapura. Now, this was a long time coming for me because I remember smelling this when it first came out. And I always told myself, I'm going to get a bottle, I'm going to get a bottle, and I finally did. And let me tell you, I am so satisfied. It really amazes me how many other fragrances have utilized the Erbapura DNA and have really twisted it to make their own thing out of it, but the original is so good. This one has that passion fruit in the opening. It's fruity, it's a little floral, it's very attractive and very alluring, and it's, again, completely unisex. It's such a great fragrance, and if you're looking for something that is on the classy yet fruity side, definitely check out Erbapura. Speaking of classy, we also have Green Irish Tweed by Creed. This is one of my favorite fragrances of all time. I almost put Aventus in this list, and I still do recommend Aventus quite a bit, but you guys know that there are some designer counterparts. There is, of course, Explorer by Moon Blanc, and there are some inexpensive alternatives to this as well. We have Visionaire by Michael Malul, we have Tren Nuit by Armaf, we have any number of clones or inspired by fragrances, if you will, but there's just something about the original with the Florentine iris, the lemon verbena, the violet, super classy, very distinguished and elegant, and for a 1985 release, I mean, this is an excellent fragrance. And yeah, all the other designer fragrances like Aspen by Coty and Davidoff by Cool Water, they're in the vein of Green Irish Tweed, but you can spot the differences a mile away, in my opinion. They just happen to work well for the same occasions, but I find that there's a certain level of class and refinement in this fragrance that you're not going to find in a lot of the designer counterparts. Now, in terms of my next recommendation, we have Celebration by Royal Crown. I know this is definitely one of the priciest fragrances on this list, and so I don't blame you if you're not racing out there to get a sample of it or even a bottle of it, but if you're looking for probably the best expression of citrus fruit given in the most natural way with a combination of mint, Celebration by Royal Crown is a holy grail fragrance. You have the abundance of Italian citrus fruits in the opening, the lemon, the orange, the bergamot, but then you have this really classy and uplifting mint note that always puts you in a good state of mind and in a positive mood. And so I personally love Celebration by Royal Crown. And then, of course, this is a fragrance that I alluded to earlier when I was talking about Rouge Smoking. This one by the company Tom Ford, one of their private blend fragrances. This one is Tobacco Veneer. Now, I purchased this many years ago as well, several years after it came out, I will admit to that. I think I purchased this in 2012 or 2013, and it was the very first Tom Ford private blend that I ever bought. Of course, we also have Tuscan Leather, Noir de Noir, Oud Wood, Vert Bohème, any number of, I meant to say Vert D'Essence, any number of fragrances from the private blends that I went out there and purchased. And this is one of my favorite purchases because it really opened up my eyes in many ways to the creativity that is found in niche fragrances that you're not necessarily going to find in designer fragrances. So exceptionally well done. A little bit on the darker side. You have to be a fan of the smell of tobacco in order to really appreciate this fragrance, but it goes without saying that it's one of my favorites. Moving on to the number 3 now. I know we have a lot of ground to cover, so I do apologize if I'm moving rather quickly, but the next one is by Serge Lutens and it's called Chergui. Now, this one was inspired by the desert air, and you have this hay note, again, tobacco, so there's a bit of a theme here, but this one is very dusty. It's a little bit on the powdery side. It's very exotic smelling, and there has been no other fragrance, whether niche or designer, that has even come close to the way that this one smells. Such a high level of uniqueness, and I have what I believe to be the original formulation. There has been talks about a reformulation, and even the color of the liquid in my bottle is very dark compared to some of the more recent bottles that I've seen on the shelves currently. But this one is such an amazing fragrance. A little bit of sweetness in there, maybe perhaps on account of the use of a little bit of vanilla, but phenomenal fragrance. Chergui by Serge Lutens will forever be one of my favorites and a fragrance that I will never stop recommending. The next fragrance that I want to talk about is, I believe, to be one of By Kilian's best. Now, I do have Dark Lord. I have smelled Black Phantom, and I love Black Phantom, although I don't own it. And then, of course, there's Single Malt and Straight to Heaven, and Rolling in Love, and there are so many from the house that I just absolutely love. But this one, there's just something special about it with that apple vibe in the opening, a little bit of sweetness, that cinnamon spice. This one is apple brandy. So you have the booze, you have the spices, you have the apple, you have that fruity nuance, but it's just so classy and refined. And I know a lot of times we think about apple and fragrances. I think about Boss Bottled No. 6 by Hugo Boss. I also think about Signature by Avon, believe it or not. There are a lot of niche fragrances that utilize an apple note as well. I know Serge came out with one recently that has a very realistic green apple note, if I'm remembering correctly. But there's something about the complexity that is found in this one with the spices and that boozy aspect that I absolutely love. And every single time I've recommended this fragrance to somebody, they always end up loving it and falling in love with it. As a matter of fact, I remember attending a Guerlain event about 1.5 years ago, pre-COVID of course, and I urged a lot of the people in attendance to smell this fragrance, and they absolutely loved it. I think it might be a little bit harder to find now, but if you can get yourself a sample of it, it's totally worth it. And that brings us to the #1 fragrance that I will never stop recommending. This one was a purchase of mine. I went out there, bought it with my own money. It is such an amazing scent, very unique, very hypnotizing. It's elegant, it's very attractive. I always get complimented with this fragrance. I believe this is one of the brand's best. And if you check back on any number of top 5 or top 10 fragrance videos that I've done for this brand, you will see that I'm always putting this fragrance in either the #1 spot or the #2 spot, depending on the season and the topic of the video. But this one by the company Inicio Parfum Privé is called Side Effect. This is a gorgeous and beautiful combination of rum, vanilla, cinnamon, tonka bean. It's spicy, it's boozy, it has that ample sweetness in the base. There's also that hedione molecule in here, which just smells very attractive and alluring, and every time I do put it on, it seems like people compliment me on it. And so this one just works so well in a wide variety of occasions. I will admit it works a little bit better for the colder weather, but I just love wearing it. The sweetness in combination with the booze and the rum is just an incredible, incredible fragrance. And whenever people ask me, which Inicio Parfum Privé fragrance do you think I should get? I always tell them, check out Oud for Greatness if you want something a little bit more dark and a little bit more experimental. Check out Rehab if you want something on the safer side, but also very versatile. And of course, there's also any number of other fragrances that I could recommend within the various collections, even the magnetic blends, which I think they have a lot of really good fragrances there. I do enjoy #7 and #8, but this one is by far my favorite from the brand, and it's so easy to wear, so likable, so easy to pull off. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you took something of value from this video. These have been 10 niche fragrances that I will never stop recommending. I love the way that all of these smell. I will always be with a bottle of each one of these in my collection. And again, if you are interested in entering the giveaway for a 5 ml sample of any 3 fragrances in my list, all you have to do once again is follow the link down below to scentsplit.com. I want you to check out all of the fragrances that they carry and let me know in the comment section below if you had to make a decant purchase from scentsplit.com, which one would it be? And that's it. I'm going to be picking the winning comment in 1 week's time. So definitely make sure to come back to this video in 1 week to see if you've won, because I will be pinning the winning comment to the top of the comment thread. Thanks again for watching. I love you all, and we'll see you next time. Bye.